My name is Arek Pernal, and I'm here to speak about free-to-play model and monetization in free-to-play products in general. But at the beginning, I would like to give a short introduction and tell you a story about the company that we created and made in 2011, meaning 10 Square Games. I would like to tell you a story about 10 Square Games. So, effectively, we are one of the biggest Polish free-to-play studios. We currently enjoy the public of more than 25 million people playing our games around the world. We have 5 titles that are either being produced right now or are live. We are based in Wrocław, and we employ around 70 people right now. We have, in fact, just moved to new, nice, spacey offices. But I would like to tell you how we get about to do it, to set up new gaming venture in Poland. So, long story short, in 2011, together with my business partner Maciek, we decided to leave our previous company, Nasza Klasa, and start something totally new, start something totally different. And our choice was pretty obvious. We wanted to make social games. Of course, we knew the sector from the perspective of a platform, because for those of you who don't know, Nasza Klasa, apart from being major social network in Poland, we were and still are the biggest social gaming destination in Poland. So we knew the games, we knew the developers, we knew the products, we knew the market, and that's why we made the decision to make social games. Our first effort that we wanted to produce is not Let's Fish game that you can see right now, but it's a mysterious product called the Robinsons. It was supposed to be a very innovative, interesting 3-dimensional game that was supposed to merge the world of Minecraft with social networking goodies, and we spent quite a lot of effort on producing that game, but it didn't work that well. But luckily, in the meanwhile, we realized that we can produce something else. And our first effort that we actually successfully launched is the fishing game, Let's Fish. It's currently the biggest fishing game in the world, to the best of our knowledge, and is the top grossing fishing game on Facebook. It's also available on iPhone, iOS. We currently enjoy more than 22 million people all over the world playing the game. And on the surface, it may seem a little bit simple, let's say, but the model behind it, the economy behind it, the fishing details behind that game are really complex and prove to be really huge value for the players enjoying Let's Fish. Our next game that we produced, our next effort, was a farming game. We wanted to see how the farming model, the iconic farming model works. And the best way of learning that was to do the game ourselves. So we targeted the game at a little bit more advanced audience, people that already have had some experience with farming games. We added complex production chains, we removed the energy model, and we produced a game called Let's Farm. It's already very popular in Central and Eastern Europe, it's popular in Poland and Russia, but we are currently pushing the game and rolling it out so it's distributed all over the world. We have been working on 2 games that have already been announced, but haven't been published yet. The first title is called Jungle Wars. It's a Clash of Clans type game in a jungle setting, in a tribal jungle conflict setting, let's say. It's already been published on NK in a beta version. We are working on polishing that model, and we are working on releasing it further. The next title that we're pretty optimistic about is the hunting game. It's a game in the vein of our hobby titles called Let's Hunt. It's a hunting simulator. It's a 3-dimensional game that we're working on right now. It's nearly done, and we'll be releasing it within the next quarter, most probably. We're polishing it and working on the last features. So in the meanwhile, we managed to grow our user base. Not all of our products were successful. We also had some flops, but we kept the pace and we grew in terms of the user base. We also managed to establish an effective network of distribution, so we are distributing our titles all over the world, from Japan through Brazil. We are strong in Central and Eastern Europe, of course, in Western Europe and in Southern America as well. In the background, we scaled the company, we scaled the organization, so we currently employ around 70 people. As I said, we moved to new offices just now. We have a philosophy of independent teams that work on titles independently, and that's the philosophy of scaling the organization. Of course, I would like to invite you to check out the job openings that we have. Square Games is a company always open to talent. We're always looking for talented game developers. We're looking for talented game designers. You are warmly invited to check out our website and check out the job openings. So that's about it. When it comes to Square Games, that's about it about us. Let's speak about free-to-play, let's speak about monetization, let's speak about games. But first, I would like to give you a broader picture on the free model. I would like to give you a broader perspective on free in general. And of course, free or freemium or free-to-play is not a feature of games. It was not introduced or designed or invented by game designers. It's all over the place. It's been around for a while. And first of all, I'd like to tell you a story about nuclear power. The story about nuclear power is as follows. The scientists that we're about to introduce to harness the power of atoms, to harness the nuclear power, and thought that they could produce electricity very, very, very cheap, so that electricity will become effectively too cheap to meter. They thought that it will revolutionize the world, that it will be a huge shift for humanity. Imagine free transportation, free heating, everything that's run by electricity will become very, very cheap. And that, of course, didn't work out, because the cost of harnessing that power, the cost of risk connected with nuclear power proved to be significant. So effectively, we don't have free electricity. But the same thing happens on a much smaller scale in our domain. The cost of running online businesses, online ventures, becomes really, really, really insignificant. The cost of basic resources that we need to run online businesses is becoming very low. The cost of storage, the cost of processing power, the cost of bandwidth is not very significant. And because of that, business owners are able to produce scalable, huge online businesses in freemium-ish models. So I don't know if you remember setting up an online operations in the 90s. I don't, but in my times, in 2004, 2006, the cost of hiring one dedicated server amounted to the cost of hiring 10 dedicated servers right now, and the power of that machine probably was a couple of times or 5, 10 times lower than the speed of machines that we enjoy right now. And that's the first very, very big takeaway, that we live in very interesting times, and we actually have a very big opportunity to create big mass market, cheap operations to launch and create mass market, freemium-ish, free-to-play products. And that, of course, doesn't mean that all of those products will become entirely free, because good old businesses always want to make money, but a small portion of users will cover the cost of running those businesses, whereas the majority of the users will be enjoying that services for free. And of course, the same thing pertains to games. The same thing happens in the gaming industry, and we all know that the free model has been revolutionizing the industry for a while. The old companies are pursuing the freemium model. The whole new league of companies that have grew to scale building free-to-play products have emerged. But let's think about why that is so exciting and why is it so cool in general. So let's take a step backwards and think about the old-fashioned way that games were distributed. So they were distributed for a price, and they still are to some extent. And why was that? So the games were developed, the games were published, the game was marketed, wrapped, packed, shipped, displayed on a shelf, either online or offline, doesn't matter, and they were sold to a client for a fixed price. And why was that? Because the client had a need to be entertained. The client had a need to have fun, to kill time, and the client purchased a product on a fixed price and satisfied that need. But in a world of free, that need is being satisfied at no cost. It's being satisfied for free. So that logical connection between the need and the product that satisfies it and the price in between is lost. And in the world when we have platforms like Facebook and mobile devices and all other social networks, people are accessing free entertainment on a massive, huge scale, unprecedented before. So why is that working? Let's take an example of a farm game. It doesn't matter which one, but a farming game is pretty iconic, so everybody understands it. Designers, the companies behind the first farm games, introduce a biological model that everybody understood. You plant the seeds, you watch them grow, you water them, you fertilize them, then you harvest them, they wither or not, it doesn't matter. But it was a realm, it was a world that everybody understood, and suddenly the players, satisfying their universal need of entertainment, discovered new needs. They needed water, they needed fertilizer, they needed a better chicken to lay more eggs. Suddenly they needed that little tiny white fence that they could put on a farm so it looks better. And in turn, the companies that designed those first farm introduced a set of products that satisfies those new need for money. And that is a very big takeaway, that we can mold and create those worlds and transform that one need of entertainment into the realm of wants that we can in turn satisfy and provide products to purchase, which is extremely liberating, like full of inspiration and interesting from the perspective of people working for gaming companies in general. And of course, in my opinion, the art of creating immersive worlds connected with the needs that in turn can be satisfied is at its infancy. Every day we wake up in the world of new evidence for that. We wake up in the world of Clash of Clans that creates needs for new shields or builders hats that players desperately want, and the company is very successful. It effectively prints money because they created so many new needs. We wake up in the world of the tank game, where people desperately want new tank, new shield, new ammunition, new engines, and they need to satisfy those needs with products that are offered for money, and that's very sexy in general. So let's think of how we can make players to engage in a buying behavior. How can we make players to actually spend money in the world of free? Of course, you can go and analyze the competition. You will see the patterns emerge. So you sell consumables that you have to repurchase. You sell fixed assets, for example, houses or buildings or whatever that is. You sell adornments. You sell power-ups. You sell buffs, or whatever it is. So you see those patterns and you can implement those patterns into your games. But let's think, what makes your actual clients, what makes the people using your games purchase those things? And what I believe works the most is the emotion that the people experience, the emotion that the people feel when engaging with your products. I put a list of emotions that works for social games and is effectively implemented by different companies. Let's treat that list as an open list, because there are different naming schemes, different categories of emotions. Psychology in general is a broad science, but let's take that as an invitation for a further discussion and research. So the first basic emotion that catalyzes purchases is impatience. As people, we are impatient. We tend to want things now. We tend to want things faster. We want to see immediate effects. And of course, that is being taken advantage of in social games. Many games based on the instinct of being impatient. And one of the neat models totally based around accelerating things and progress and keeping up with the pace is, of course, Clash of Clans. And the most interesting thing about it is that at the beginning, you become acquainted with accelerating. You become used to accelerating, and the pace of the resources you need to accelerate, the pace of the time you need to build things increases the more you accelerate, the more you advance through the game. And at some point, you of course become impatient, and you become so impatient that you will be willing to invest your real money, your real resources into buying goods within that game. That's a very powerful motivation to take advantage of. The next strong instinct is the human need, the human urge to seek revenge. In real world, of course, revenge is not that good. It can be destructive, it can be malicious, it's hardly a virtue. But in the world of freemium games, revenge is part of the fun. It's harmless. The gamers, the players are nudged and encouraged to seek revenge. They are prompted to take revenge, and that's cool. That's fun. That's totally okay. But in the background, the old mechanics of revenge and conflict works. So the player actually seeking revenge will be making 100% sure that the player will win. So they will engage with the game, they will gear up, they will invest in resources, they will invest in equipment, and they will plan to win. That's also a very strong motivation to take advantage of. And a need that is directly connected with revenge is dominance, a human need of dominating one another. So one emanation of that dominance instinct is, of course, player versus player conflict, like duels, battles, or whatever that is. But another very important mechanism is rankings. And I don't know if you know the story about chickens, but it's very interesting that in any given chicken flock, there is a pecking order. So the most dominating chicken can peck every chicken in the flock, and nobody will be able to peck him. Whereas the least dominating chicken will be allowed to peck no other chicken, but everybody will be pecking him, sadly. And in the middle, there's a ranking, of course, based on the individual tendency to domination of those chicken. And the same mechanism pertains to games. So we have to display the rankings, display the performance of our opponents, of our friends, and take advantage of it, offering our users chances to purchase things. And the game that is a nice example of tying the economy with the domination and ranking mechanics is, of course, Candy Crush Saga. So they have like 2 dimensions of ranking, one of which is the overall ranking that positions you on the overall progression chart, so we can see the progress that your friends have made, and so that you'll be willing to excel them. And the other dimension is the local ranking. So within each individual level, you are able to see the score of your friends, and you are nudged and you are encouraged to compete, to beat them, and you are offered helpers to do it. And you are offered helpers for money to actually beat them and to dominate them. The next very interesting emotion or feeling that people experience when playing virtual entertainment, enjoying virtual entertainment, is the human need to accomplish things. And what do we accomplish? We accomplish goals. And from the perspective of game design, we all know that we have to provide those goals throughout the game. So there have to be short-term goals, mid-term goals, long-term goals. They have to be all over the place, and we all know that. And there are different mechanics that are usually used to implement those goals. We have achievements, we have quests, we have missions. The whole progression thing throughout the game is a goal itself. But what makes players engage with those goals, and what makes players pay when they engage with those goals? It's an old human aversion of loss. The instinct that is a big takeaway from the prospect theory that revolutionized socio-economical thinking in the 20th century, but it basically boils down to the fact that we are more averse to the loss than apt to the gain of the same size. So we fear a loss more than we enjoy gain of the same size. And that basically translates into the gaming mechanics. The more we engage with the quest, the more time and resources we spend on engaging with the quest, the more likely we will be to actually complete that quest and maybe invest real money, real resources into completing that. The most simplistic example of that mechanics is a process of building a hut or a building in a city building game, for example. So the process usually has 4 stages. The first 3 stages are free, but you have to engage with the game, you have to invest your time and resources to complete those 3 steps, and the 4th step may be paid. And once you have invested in completing those first 3 steps, you'll be more likely to pay on the 4th step. Of course, it's entirely up to us to decide when do we reach out for money, when do we monetize the player, or how far do we push the border of payment wall, but it's a very important mechanics to remember and to take advantage of. The next thing that is nice to include in the overall mix is the feeling of holding your breath and waiting for something to happen. Is the feeling of the excitement, anticipation. And I'm not a very big card game fan, but what I learned from listening to card game fans is that they enjoy one very particular moment. They enjoy opening a pack of cards. So they're waiting to see what's inside. They're kind of dreaming about the cards they need. They're waiting to see what will they find in the pack. And that mechanism was nicely introduced in the Hearthstone game, which is a very cool game. So the players are basically monetized through selling expert packs. And once the player purchases an expert pack, they experience sort of anticipation. What will they find in that expert pack? And that's also very nicely visually organized, so the cards flip and you find out what you actually purchased. And when speaking about it and when thinking about it, I also thought that the same mechanics works for national lotteries. So when you buy a ticket for Lotto, National Lottery, you imagine that maybe you will win millions. So you wait for the lottery day, you take the lottery ticket, and you check if you won. Of course, the most exciting moment is to see if you actually won. You know that the odds are really, really, really low. But the sheer waiting, the sheer imagining the millions that are waiting just behind the corner is exciting, and people are effectively willing to pay for that. And it's nice to be aware of that as well. The last very important emotion that kind of finalizes my open list of emotions is the need of belonging. So as humans, we experience that need from early childhood. We belong to different social groups, we belong to different social units, we are part of a family, we belong to a partner, we belong to a school class, we belong to a company. And as a member of a group, we have to comply with the rules, we have to work for the benefit of the group, and we have to help the group members. And that's a very strong peer motivation to be harnessed from the perspective of game design in general. And of course, players are members of the overall community of the game, and they can engage through forums, they can engage through communities, but that is not enough. The mechanics that are embedded into the game are directly monetizable, so they can be monetized nicely. And good examples are clans and alliances that are manageable, they have their own rules, they have their own members, their own pressure, and the members of alliances, the members of clans have to work for the benefit of the group, are bound to engage with the game, are bound to keep up with the pace, are bound to help the members of the clans, and effectively can be made to spend more. So that's it when it comes to the list of emotions. And that actually would be it when it comes to my presentation, but I would like to wrap it up real quick. I think I got 3 big takeaways, 3 big things that I mentioned. First of all, we live in a very interesting times when the marginal cost of serving online products is very, very low. So we are very happy that we can build massive online businesses. Either games or social networks or whatever it is, it can be really massive at a very reasonable cost. The second big takeaway is that we are very lucky to be operating in the gaming industry because we can be creative, we can fashion and mold this virtual entertainment to our own liking, and we can provide any needs, any wants, and therefore set it to our clients, and it's entirely up to us. It's very inspiring. And the third takeaway is that we have to take advantage of the emotions that our players have. We have to consciously make decisions where to implement those emotions and how to take advantage of them. And those emotions really make players pay in the world of free. And that will be basically it. If you have any questions, you can shoot right away. You can drop me an email. We can meet afterwards. I would like to remind you that 10 Square Games as a company is always open to talent, and please check out the job openings. Thank you. That's that.